And dear 11th class students, and today in your botany we are going to discuss the mechanism of absorption of the mineral elements. The mechanism of absorption of elements rather. As we have already discussed about the deficiency symptoms of the essential elements along with their toxicity, probably the toxicity of the micronutrients. And now we will look upon how these particular elements get absorbed by the plants. So, in this regard, much of the studies on the mechanism of absorption of the elements by the plants has been carried out in isolated cells, tissues, or organs. And these studies revealed that the process of absorption can be demarcated into two main phases. In the first phase, an initial rapid uptake of ions into the free space or the outer space of the cells, that is the apoplast. It is passive. That the first phase of the absorption is passive. Passive absorption means that there is no metabolic activity related to the absorption of a particular nutrient. That is, no energy is required for the passive absorption of such elements into the apoplast. And now, in the second phase of the uptake, the ions are taken in slowly into the inner space. The second phase involves the taking in of the ions into the inner space, the symplast of the cells. The passive movement of the ions into the apoplast usually occurs through ion channels. The transmembrane proteins that function as selective pores, that means there are the proteins which are embedded within the plasma membrane and that help facilitate the passage for these elements to get into the symplast of the cells, and they act as the selective pores. On the other hand, the entry or exit of the ions to and from the symplast, it requires the expenditure of metabolic energy, which is an active process. This means that in the passive transport we do not require the metabolic energy, whereas for the active transport the energy is required, and the movement of the ions is usually called flux. The inward movement into the cells is influx, and the outward movement, efflux, that is the movement from cells to the external environment, it is called as the efflux. And now the translocation of the solutes and mineral salts are translocated through xylem along with the ascending stream of water that we have previously discussed, that how water is carried up to the tall trees in the form of bulk flow or mass flow hypothesis. And here the mineral salts are again translocated through xylem along with the ascending stream of water, which is pulled up through the plant by transpirational pull. Analysis of the xylem sap shows the presence of mineral salts in it. That means when this xylem sap was analyzed, it was found that it also carries the mineral salts. Use of radioisotopes of the mineral elements also substantiate the view that they are transported through the xylem that we have already discussed about the xylem transport. Now, the soil, which acts as the reservoir of the essential elements, a majority of the nutrients that are essential for the growth and development of the plants become available to the roots due to the weathering and breakdown of rocks. And these processes enrich the soil with dissolved ions and inorganic salts. Since they are derived from the rock minerals, their role in the plant nutrition is referred to as mineral nutrition. Soil consists of a wide variety of substances. Soil not only supplies minerals but also harbors nitrogen fixing bacteria that is to be discussed in detail, other microbes, and holds water, all that is required by the plants for their sustenance and the growth, and that is absorbed from the soil. That is, the soil acts as the reservoir for all these materials which are required for the sustenance, growth, development of the plants. Not only do the soil contain the nutrients, but also holds water that is essential for the absorption of such nutrients through the roots. Supplies uh, is supplies air to the roots and acts as a matrix that stabilizes the plant. Water supplies air to the roots and acts as a matrix that stabilizes the plant. Since deficiency of the essential mineral elements affect the crop yield, there is often a need for supplying them through fertilizers. Both macronutrients, sodium and rather nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, and micronutrients in the form of copper, zinc, iron, manganese form components of the fertilizers and are applied to the particular crop as per the need and the requirement of that particular crop for its growth. So that is all for today. Have a nice day.